What is that? I have no clue what that intro was. I'm not even lying. But welcome back to another episode, guys. And as you can tell by the title of this video, today we are going to be talking about the worst day of my life. So, if you've been with this channel for a while, you'll know that I think it was like a year and a half ago, I posted a video about my first ever broken bone, which was my right middle toe. And earlier this year, I posted a video titled "We Need to Talk," and in that video I addressed this, my broken arm, which is what we're going to be talking about today. And we're going to be talking about like how it happened and how long it took to heal and stuff. So let's get right into it. So it all started back in October of 2018. So around the time that PewDiePie vs. T-Series started. Funny enough. And then, so basically, winter sports was starting for my school. The tryouts for winter sports. You can probably already tell where this is going. So for the past 3 years, I've tried to make it onto the basketball team. I've only been successful in doing that once. And that was 7th grade. 8th grade, didn't make it. And 9th grade, didn't make it. So this year, I thought, you know what? I love watching WWE a lot. I might as well just go try out for the wrestling team. So I did that, and I found out that the only way you're not on the team is if you just choose to not show up. So I showed up every day to wrestling, and it took me a couple months to even do my first match because I had so many after-school activities going on. Like I had choir, I was on the debate team, and so much more. So, and I never had time to go to a wrestling event. So, until January 23rd of this year, where my school hosted a match, no, not a match, well, actually, yeah, it's called a match, where it was us against two other schools. Like, first, the two other schools that showed up faced each other, then we faced one of them, and then we faced the other one. So the first match I had, I lost in about 12 seconds. But the second match that day, I won, thankfully. And then we went on to do another tournament the following Saturday. I had, I think, 5 matches in that. I lost every single one of them. Mainly because it was so early in the morning, and normally whenever we're doing wrestling stuff, I have a lot of energy. And because it was so early in the morning, I had no energy at all. As a matter of fact, the tournament lasted so long that my dad had to bring me lunch while I was there. He had to leave our house and go all the way to the high school that we were at, which was like a 2-hour drive for him, and he had to bring me lunch. But that's not where the broken bone happened. The broken bone would end up taking place 3 days later. So it was just a plain old Wednesday, except for the fact that school had gotten canceled. But also, it was the final day of wrestling practice for the JV kids and for the girls. Which meant that it was my final day of wrestling practice for the year. And after what happened that day, it will be my final wrestling practice ever. I am not even kidding. So, basically, because there was no school that day, Coach decided that we would show up at like 10:30, and we would finish practice around like... Actually, no, he decided that we would show up at, I think it was either 8:30 or 9:30, and we would finish around like 10:30 or 11:30. And the whole time, everything was going all fine and dandy. Until we got into these things called lives, which basically, you and a couple of people get put into either a group of 3 or a group of 4. If you're in a group of 3, then here, let's put it this way. Let's say we have wrestler A, B, and C. At first, wrestler A and B will wrestle each other for a minute while C will sit out and take a rest. Then, afterward, either wrestler B or wrestler A will go. The wrestlers A and B go for a minute, and then after that minute, one of them will go out. So let's say in this case it's wrestler B. Wrestler B goes out, wrestler C comes in, and then A and C go for a minute. So then, because wrestler A has been going for 2 minutes and no breaks, that means that wrestler A has to go out and wrestler B comes in. Then wrestlers A and B and C go, and then since wrestler C has been going for 2 straight minutes, they sit out and wrestler A comes back in. And you just do that continuously. But if you're in a group of 4, let's say we have wrestler A, wrestler B, wrestler C, wrestler D. Here's how it goes. Wrestlers A and B face off. Wrestlers C and D face off at the same time. And they do that twice in a row, and then they take a break. Then wrestlers A and C face off, and then wrestlers B and D face off for 2 minutes. Then they take a break for a minute. Then wrestlers A and D face off. Then wrestlers B and C face off. And you just keep doing that until y'all are done. Like until coaches decide to move on to something else. And the whole time it was all going fine and dandy until nearing the end of the lives. A guy named Taj, who I was paired up with, he had me in he had a hold of my arm, and I guess he was trying to do some sort of arm drag maneuver to me. So he dropped down to his knees, and he was sort of like this, but I went to resist it, so I pulled back, and my arm straightened out, as it should have, but it straightened out way too much, and then the humerus bone up here snapped. And the funny thing is, about a humerus fracture, you initially don't know that you have it unless you've seen it. When it first happened, I could hear a popping noise, so I was like, oh, my elbow just popped. And there goes all the gas that was built up in there. But then I hear Taj screaming at the top of his lungs, holy S word. So then I'm like, what happened? Because I had felt no pain yet. But then all of a sudden, out of the corner of my eye, I cannot see my left arm. I'm literally like this, and out of the corner of my eye, I cannot see my left arm. So then I look over to it, and it's flopping around like a wet noodle. I'm not even joking. If you took a long spaghetti noodle and just held it there and watched it flop around, that's how my arm looked. So I was like, oh my god, I know what just happened. So then the pain comes in about 2 seconds later, and then I immediately just grab my wrist like this, just to keep my arm still. And everybody in the room was just in shock at what just happened. Nobody could believe it. And somehow, I was able to withstand the pain without crying. I have no clue how. Because it was extremely painful. And, they called they called for an ambulance to come get me and take me to the hospital. But the funny thing is, they then called my parents about 5 minutes later. And the funny thing is, my parents actually showed up before the ambulance. Actually, no, I think they showed up about the same time, actually, now that I think about it. So they then funny enough, they had to cut my shirt off to put my arm in a splint, so that way, sorry, just burped inside my mouth. So then like nobody would have to hold it to keep it still. So it would just stay still on its own and would not move. And then they put me on a stretcher, and the funny thing is, when we went outside, it was -6 degrees. So I still had my wrestling shorts on. I was still wearing my wrestling shoes, and I had no shirt on because I had to cut it off to put my arm in the splint, as I already said. And I had to go outside in -6 degrees in that. So then they put me in the ambulance. Then they gave me some sort of pain medication. I don't remember what it was. I think it was fentanyl that they gave me. And so then they took me to the hospital, and they had to x-ray me, so they had to take the splint out. And the worst thing about it was, when they had to take the splint, I said they had to take the splint out, they had to take the splint off my arm. And the unfortunate thing was, when they took it off, they had to straighten my arm out to x-ray it. Because they apparently couldn't x-ray if I was like this. They had to straighten it out. So they straightened it out, they x-rayed it, and then they put it back into a splint. And they confirmed that it was in fact broken. For a minute, I had hoped that maybe my elbow had just gotten dislocated, but nope. It was in fact broken. And the reason I thought it was my elbow was because it was so far down that it was literally right here that it broke. And it's called a distal humerus fracture. And the thing is, I almost did not need surgery for it, but I did need surgery for it because the thing that had happened was, first of all, it was a spiral fracture, which means, so basically a spiral fracture means one part of the bone rotated one way, the other part of the bone rotated the other way, causing two opposing forces, and then snap. But that's not why I needed surgery. It was because the top part of the bone had been dislocated as well. So the top part of the bone had dropped down about 3 inches. So when it happened, my left arm was about 3 inches shorter than my right arm. It was probably like this. Like this is my left arm. This is my right arm. My left arm was about 3 inches shorter than my right arm when it happened. So then they took me to one of the rooms where, they just send the patients if they have something wrong with them. And they found out that there were too many people that were having surgery that day for me to have a surgery that day. So they had to delay it until tomorrow. So then, they just, about every 4 hours or so, they gave me food to eat. And then, I went to bed. Then they did the surgery on me the next day. They gave me a general anesthesia to put me to sleep. I woke up about 4 hours later, except apparently an anesthesia is only supposed to last about 45 minutes, apparently, from what I've looked up on Google. Like, I literally looked up how long does general anesthesia last for. It said it should last about 45 minutes, but for me it lasted about 4 hours. So then I woke up, and the first words that came out of my mouth when I woke up was, "What time is it?" I'm not even lying. I was just like, sleep, and then slowly wake up, and then look around a little bit, see someone to my right, and then I'm just like, what time is it? So then, my arm was all good to go, but the only thing is, they said that 2 things had to happen. One, well, because I had already done one of the things the other night, the night before. So the first thing that had to happen was I had to successfully urinate, which I had done the night before. The only thing was, I needed to have my grandparents leave the room as it happened. the second one was that I had to have a successful bowel movement, which meant I successfully had to go poop, which I successfully did. I don't know why I'm saying successfully so much. And then and the other one was I had to make it 24 straight hours without taking the liquid pain medicine that they were giving me. I forgot what it was. But I then completed that, and then I went back to school on, I think it was Wednesday, the 6th of February, I think it was. It was either the 6th or the 7th. I think it was the 6th. And I could have went back on Monday, but my mom did not want me leaving the house while still on pain medications. So then they took it down to ibuprofen, and I could have gone back on on Tuesday, the 5th, but the unfortunate thing was I decided to eat a protein bar right before I went to bed, and then I had to go to the bathroom for like 40 minutes straight. I'm not even kidding. I was literally sitting in the bathroom for like 40 minutes. So then I decided, you know what, I'm just not going to go to school on today for Tuesday. And then I went back the next day. Then literally on Valentine's Day, they had to call me in to have my stitches removed. Then about 2 weeks later, they called me up just to check in and see how I was doing. And they said the recovery was going a lot. They said it was going very good. Then 2 weeks later, so 6 weeks total, they called me up one last time to check in and see if I was ready to be cleared for physical activities like PE and stuff, despite the fact that my arm was completely outside the splint. Like, the stitches were gone, I no longer needed the sling, which, hold on, by the way, I still have the sling right here. This is what I had to use to keep my arm immobilized while it was broken. And they have not, and that day they cleared me for physical activities like PE and stuff, and yeah, they have not contacted me since because they don't need to. I haven't had another injury since. Well, actually, scratch that, yes I have, but it happened during the summer. It literally happened like, I think 3 weeks ago, but I've already healed from it, which I'm not going to tell you guys what it is yet. Actually, I might as well, because it's not even that interesting of a story. It was a thigh contusion, which a contusion is a direct impact bruise. So basically in our backyard we have a tree stump just sitting there. Me, my little brother, and my cousins Jordan and Reese, you've seen in some of my videos, where we were just out there playing volleyball. I was running after the ball to chase it down because Jacob had smacked it way over our heads. I was trying to chase it down and just go like, whoop! But little did I know that the grass was going to be super slippery, and then I just slipped and fell right on top of the tree stump. And that gave me a thigh contusion, but it's fully healed now. But anyway, that's the worst day of my life story, January 30th of this year. So, hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, you know what to do. Leave a like, comment, subscribe, turn on notifications, share everything that's good, and I will see you guys tomorrow for a Minecraft Survival Series video, believe it or not.